rally and it's boring? It's boring? I don't believe that. When is a Trump rally boring? Trump's rallies are never boring. All right, we're watching can somebody throw me a link? Doing a rally right now? Let's watch. Trump's rallies are anything but boring, all right? They are absolutely boring? I don't think so.
Iran would have been in my office in the first hour after we won the election to make a deal. But perhaps they still will. He said they still will. After Hurricane Michael devastated our farmers in southwest Georgia, as I said, no one worked harder to get them relief than David Perdue. He would call me all the time. He actually called me more than Sonny, and Sonny said agriculture. What the hell's going on, Sonny? Sonny, what happened to you, Sonny? It's true, David would call all the time, and remember how tough the Democrats made? They didn't want to give him anything. But we got it. We got him more than they even thought possible. Senator Perdue helped pass the unprecedented $2.5 trillion investment in our United States military, delivering the largest pay raises in addition to everything else for our warriors in a decade. And we now have the greatest, most modern military in the history of our country. We have brand new fighter jets, brand new bombers, brand new missiles and rockets, hypersonic missiles. We have hypersonic and hydrosonic. You know what hydrosonic is? Water. We have them all. We have missiles that go 7 times faster than any missile in the world. And when we took over, our military was decimated, our military was tired, our military was in big trouble. And you remember, and I've said it a lot, one of the world's most overrated generals came to see me. He said, "Sir, we have no ammunition." We had a little problem with a certain country. And he said, "Sir, we have no ammunition." I said, "Tell me you're not saying that." We didn't have ammunition, think of it. We had very little ammunition, and I'll never forget that statement. I said, that should never happen to a president.
Why are we being punished? I'll tell you why.
Ever happened to a president.
I told you that we are watching history in the making. We are watching an acting president try to dismantle our democracy in front of our very eyes, chat. We're watching this because this is a moment that we need to pay attention to. This is an unprecedented moment, all right? I don't mean to necessarily torture you with the orange man, but also we have to really look at this moment and what it's going to mean in the future and how it'll be remembered, how it's going to be in the history books. I'm serious. This is the reason why I put you through this torture.
And protect American jobs, David did. He voted to confirm nearly 300 of the judges that I talked about, the federal judges that interpret the Constitution as written. And when the Democrat mob came for Judge Kavanaugh, David Perdue stood strong. And you know, I'm just thinking they both stood strong when they impeached you.
Am I a secret supporter? No.
I'm the only president
Absolutely
ever,
not.
will never, that got impeached for making a perfect phone call. But those two were among the best. Senator Perdue is an outsider, a businessman, a great businessman, and a true American patriot. You need him fighting for you and your family and your values, because the United States Senate cannot be the same without him. So that's why I'm here. You know, I don't do these things for other people. In fact, I was curious. I didn't know if anyone was going to show up. I said, I'm doing it for other people. This is a hell of a crowd. Look, as far as the eye can see. As far as the eye can see.
Obviously, if this many people came to this rally,
I don't like doing it for other people.
The election was rigged.
I said, David and Kelly called, would you do a rally? I said, not really. I did 56 of them in a little tiny period of time. I said, let me have, and I said, when they asked, it was really not. But, you know, I don't do them for other people. It's a lot of work to do a rally. A lot of work. People don't realize when you do, I did 5 a day the last 4 or 5 days. One day I did 6. And the smallest one, think of it, the smallest one at 25,000 people.
Hey,
you think that's fun? In some of them, it's 75 degrees, and in others,
Donald Trump is really going to be out here saying, "Look, the size of my crowds at the rallies are indicative of this election being stolen. Think how many people showed up to Joe Biden's rallies in comparison, because rally turnouts directly relates to or is indicative of election turnout. That's what he wants you to think."
Ossoff supports defunding the police, supports the crazy Green New Deal. That's another beauty.
He doesn't
Don't
support
forget,
defunding
the Green
the
New
police.
Deal is really $100
That's just a
trillion.
lie. That's an
Okay?
outright
It's
lie.
$100 trillion. They don't say that, Louis, do they? They talk about $3 trillion. It got down to $3 trillion. No, it's $100 trillion is what they wanted. That's more money. If our economy was going unbelievable gangbusters for 100 years, no recession, no anything, we couldn't come close to making $100 trillion. They want to rip down buildings and rebuild them with no windows. I like windows. I like big, beautiful windows. He wants to do a total government takeover of healthcare that will destroy your doctor's offices and rural hospitals. So if you're sick, if you have a cold, go to a hospital, wait online for about 3 days, and hope you get a decent doctor. Ossoff also supports a crippling nationwide lockdown. He wants you to lock your home nice and tight after you're inside of it. And he passes legislation to let hardened criminals go free. Get them out of jail. Get them out of jail. Ossoff will be a complete tool for the radical left donors
Oh, yeah?
who are trying to buy Georgia's Senate seats. Do you see the money these people have raised? I mean, it's really, it's very, well, of course, I just raised $250 million, and I should say.
Keldor
I didn't
Grayskull,
raise it.
thank
it
you
just
so
got-
much.
I said, how are we doing on that front? Because we didn't get great publicity. Boy, they were so happy, these guys. You might not be happy in a few weeks. You might not.
You have such a sweet, pure heart.
No, they
You
were
still
so
attribute sanity to Trump.
I said, how's fundraising going?
I don't think
They
Trump's
said,
sane at
"Sir,
all. In fact, the
about
exact opposite.
$250 million. I said, 250 million what? Dollars. How the hell did that happen? Because people believe in what we're doing. That's why. They believe in it. But that's why Ossoff's donations come from Silicon Valley, San Francisco, and the other liberal places, and they don't come from Georgia. This is not your fault. I know you. You're with me. I'm with you. We've always had wins from primaries to 2 elections. We won 2 elections, believe it or not. I think I won the second one by more than I won the first one. I do, right? Bill, I won the second one by more. On January 5th, you also need to vote for your incredible Republican Senator, Kelly Loeffler. Kelly has been an exceptional champion for Georgia's workers and families, and I know what they fight for. They fight
The richest congressperson.
Kelly. She fights for you every single day.
The richest congressperson, by the way. Kelly Loeffler is the richest congressperson
Senator
sitting
Loeffler
right now.
helped rescue
The
the U.S.
116th
economy by voting to pass a historic
Congress.
$3
It's
trillion
116th, isn't it?
bill, relief for American workers and families, and a lot of people were against it, and it turned out to be a great thing, Kelly. Thank you. A lot of people said, oh, it's too much. I said, it's not their fault, and I want to get them more money now, and I like the higher number rather than the lower number. We'll make it back. With her help, we secured $15 billion for 175,000 Georgia small businesses and saved 1.5 million Georgia jobs. That was both of them, really. Both
Spicy children, I would love that so
Kelly
much.
is a relentless advocate for Georgia
Assuming
farmers,
that
and she has fought tirelessly to get them relief in this pandemic. And by the way, her husband is a fine man who's one of the most respected men in the country. I want to tell
really,
you that.
Loeffler's husband
tell
is
you
the
that.
most respected
He's a great
man
man. He's a great
in the
gentleman.
country.
At the urging of, if you're successful today. it's
Isn't
supposed
he
to be
like the
bad. No,
overseer of
he's
the
a
New York
smart
Stock
guy.
Exchange?
He's a smart guy, but he's a great guy. He's a great man. At the urging of
Hi,
Kelly
my
and
name's
David,
Donald
my
Trump. I'm going to
administration
drain the
took
swamp. And
historic action
also,
to
Kelly
protect
Loeffler's
growers of
husband,
Georgia's
great man.
Blueberries, peppers, squash, and
What size
cucumbers.
of t-shirt are
Who
you?
does cucumbers around here? Because I like cucumbers. I'm the only one. I like cucumbers. When our law enforcement heroes were under attack,
Carl.
Senator Loeffler stood up to the Marxists and introduced
What size
legislation to
t-shirts?
protect our brave men and women in blue, and she was threatened all over.
I don't
the
know.
place.
Sometimes I have
That threat
titties,
meant
so
nothing. That
do a
was
medium
waste
just in case.
number of phone calls or however the hell they threatened you. That was a waste of time. She also introduced legislation to prevent Democrat gun grabbers like Beto O'Rourke. Remember Beto? Beto. There's a guy, has another one. He wants to take your guns away. Oh, by the way, Trump is going to lose Texas, but Beto O'Rourke, who's a big factor in that whole thing, wants to take. Remember when Beto was running, he was riding high, and then Ted Cruz, who's done a great job, beat Beto O'Rourke. But Beto was riding high for a while. And remember he was on the cover of a certain really bad magazine. I won't mention the name. It's failing. It won't be in business for another 6 months. I don't
Times?
know.
Time?
He was
Time
on the
magazine?
cover, and he said, I was born to do this. And I said, anybody that says they were born to do this, they're going to be losing very quickly. And you know what? Within about 2 months, he was a stone-cold loser. And just weeks ago, Senator Loeffler cast her vote to confirm our newest Supreme Court Justice, Amy Coney Barrett. They both did, by the way. They both did. I can't leave David out of that one. Kelly's opponent, Raphael Warnock, is a dangerous extremist who is radically opposed to your values. He said he believes that, quote, nobody can serve God and the military. Oh, really?
Interesting.
An appalling statement that dishonors the memory and generations of American heroes who fought for God and for our country. Raphael Warnock has openly declared his support.
It is totally okay to go and kill Iraqi children as long as you come on back here to the United States and serve your God. Serve your country, go kill Iraqi women and children. It's totally fine. Murder in the name of your U.S. military. Come back, serve God, no problem. No problem.
Cash bail. No cash bail. No bail. Don't worry about it. You killed somebody. Don't worry about it. You know, you're on the honor code. And he's declared, quote,
oh, interesting. He just said that if you kill somebody, you should not be allowed to be released from prison on cash bail. But again, if you go and you kill an Iraqi child, then justifiable.
Try it again. Warnock is strongly anti-Israel. And Warnock's own writings make clear that he believes America is a sinister nation that must be punished.
Oh no, Trump's dentures are falling out. Ask Trump to say femininity. Hey, somebody, get in the chat and ask Trump to say femininity. Do it.
Video to play, please.
It'll be funny. Y'all love to do it to me.
Senator Warren and myself are all on the same team. What are you willing to sacrifice to make sure that overfunded police departments are defunded?
There is no middle road on the climate crisis.
I not only support a Green New Deal, I don't think it goes far enough. I'm all for a Green New Deal. This is part of what gun registration is about. We want to track where the guns are. We need to cut the defense budget.
Popeyes or Chick-fil-A?
Oh, Popeye!
Are you in favor of expanding the court or perhaps an age limit in place instead of a lifetime appointment?
Look, I've said everything is on the table.
But if we win the majority, everything is on the table.
Now we take Georgia, and then we change America. Change is coming to America.
The blue wave is comprised of those who are documented and undocumented.
We win these races in Georgia so that we don't have to negotiate.
That's their goal. Total radical control to bring horrific change to America. Only Georgians can stop them.
Nobody can serve God and the military.
Raphael Warnock attacks our military.
Police power, the kind of gangster and thug mentality.
Warnock attacks our police.
Somebody's got to open up the jails.
Raphael Warnock is dangerous. No wonder he defended this.
Not God bless America, God America.
Now my hope is that in early January, Democrats will pick up 2 more seats in the Georgia runoffs, and that will make our life a lot easier.
We need to send a message this year
We need to send a message that if you indulge this kind of politics, you're not just going to get beaten. You're going to get beaten so bad you can never run or show your face again in public. Because we have had enough, absolutely enough, of what we are getting from Donald Trump and his fellow travelers right now. You're not just going to get beaten. You're going to get beaten so bad you can never run or show your face again in public.
So I just looked at that one scene because it was in Washington, and we had about a month ago incredible crowds of people. They were angry as hell at the election, and they showed up, and it was incredible. Hundreds of thousands of people. People couldn't believe. Now, of course, some of the fake news said hundreds of people are here. No. Tens of thousands of people. And you know, Antifa showed up. Not the right, but the left showed up. And they looked at some of these people and they wanted to attack the crowd. They looked and they said, no, thank you. And they left. No problem. They looked at some of these people. They said, no, thank you. Then it broke up about 3 o'clock. Everyone went home very peacefully. It was a beautiful day, actually. They all went home peacefully. And that night they came back. And there were a few families that stayed around with young children. And there were some elderly people that were having dinner in Washington, very elderly people. And they got attacked. Those people got attacked viciously by the scum from Antifa. We can't let this happen. We can't let this happen. But what they didn't play, what the fake news didn't play, is during the day they walked in and they wanted to do some damage and they took a look and they said, no thank you, we won't do it. We'll wait. We'll wait till we get the people with the children. We'll wait till we get the elderly people that want to stay in Washington and really just have a good time. And it was disgusting to watch. On January 5th, you must defeat Ossoff and Warnock and send two great people, David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler, back to the Senate. And if you don't mind, I'd like to ask David and Kelly to come up and say a few words, please.
Dang Techno, thank you so much for resubscribing. Thank you. That is poogies.
Thank you, Georgia. Thank you, Mr. President. President Trump, you made America great again because you put America first.
He didn't outright say it, but he pretty much said you should not trust the results of the runoff election if there is not if there's no concerted effort to recount the recounts, then you should not trust this upcoming election either, because it could be just as rigged as the general.
Georgia, we need you to vote January 5th. If you're our voice on January 5th, we'll be your voice for years. We have to make sure that we keep America strong. Thank you. Well, you know what? My colleague, David Perdue, my good friend, wants to make sure that you vote. We are going to vote because if we don't vote, we will lose the country. If we vote, we will win.
Hey, guys, I want to take liberty just 1 second. I want to say something personal to President Trump. Hey, guys, I want to say something for President Trump personally. Guys, I want to say something personal for President Trump. God bless you. We love you, Mr. President. We love the First Lady. And we're going to fight and win those 2 seats and make sure you get a fair, square deal in the state of Georgia. God bless you, Mr. President.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, folks. Thank you. Thank you. We're fighting. We're going to fight like you never saw before. Thank you. We can't let what happened 3 weeks ago, we can't let it happen. It's beyond me. We can't let it happen. And somewhere there's going to be a champion, you're champion. Somewhere there's going to be a champion that's going to do what's right, because this has been going on for a long time, but never like it's happened recently. And you know, they've used the pandemic and the phony fake ballots, the mail-in ballots, they use that to sabotage a country. We're not going to let it happen. As you know, a major issue in this state is voter fraud. It's been a big issue for a long time, but never like this. We sent out tens of thousands, millions and millions of ballots. Nobody knew where they came from, where they are. People were getting 2, 3, 4 ballots. They were signing them, sending them in. What a mess. And I said it a year ago, and I said it every month. And I even said, let's postpone the election. And they said, oh, he's not an American. You know, they knew what they were doing. They knew what they were doing. We're all deeply disturbed and upset by the lying, cheating, robbing, stealing that's gone on with our elections. We know the Democrats will have dead people voting, and you got to watch it. Dead people, you wouldn't believe how many, illegal aliens from out of the state, and they'll be filing out and filling out ballots for people who don't even exist. They put up names. They have people signing their own name over and over. They have people signing names with the same pen, with the same signature. They don't even change, because they know once they get it in, it'll never be looked at. It'll never be looked at again because of people like your Secretary of State and your governor. So we want signature verification, but the answer, and we're going to be very careful. We're going to watch every ballot, David and Kelly. We can't let this happen again. And again, we have more light shining here because of what happened and because of the fact it's pinpointed. The answer to the Democrat fraud is not to stay at home. That's what Nancy Pelosi and Schumer, that's what they want you to do. Stay at home. Just stay at home. If you want to do something to them, I don't want to use the word revenge, but it is a certain revenge. To the Democrats, you show up and vote in record numbers. That's what you have to do. They can only win if they cheat. They can't win this state unless they cheat. And they cheat better than anybody. You know, when you think of it, the Republicans are much nicer. They're not nearly as vicious. Maybe a few of us. Republicans are too nice, he said. You're right. That's a very good, thank you very much. I like that. But they are, they're too nice. They don't go after these criminals. They got to go after them. We're talking to people. Go after them. They don't go after them. They're afraid they'll hurt their reputation when they get out. I don't know. They don't go after them. But we're watching this so closely. We have everybody watching. You got to get out and vote. Let them steal Georgia again. You'll never be able to look yourself in the mirror. We have to hold the line. And you have two of the greatest people on earth. We have to hold the line. Make sure that you and everyone else know that you have to register to vote before this Monday, December 7th. Is that right? Monday, December 7th. You have to register to vote. Of course, you'll probably be allowed to if you're a Democrat. You know, they don't have any time limits. Did you see where Stacey is allowed to harvest, but other people can't harvest? How is that constitutional? How is that constitutional? Has anybody looked at that? Go to georgia.gov and register immediately, then request your absentee ballot before December 31st. Don't delay. Watch it closely.
What are the ballot
do it
harvesting
today,
rules
do it
in
tomorrow,
Georgia, I wonder?
And return your ballot the same day you get it. So they can't say, gee, it didn't come in on time. You know what they did in one of the states? Ballots were coming in late. Very, very late. So they backdated the ballots. We have all the information. We have so much evidence. And then you go to a court.
Michigan?
Oh, they don't have enough evidence. We have hundreds and hundreds and even thousands of affidavits. And they say, he doesn't have the evidence. We have so much evidence, we don't know what to do with it. I'm saying, do we put all of this into a filing? It's like with wheelbarrows. If you aren't planning to vote by mail, vote early in person or vote on election day. Whatever you do, I need each of you, every one of you, your friends, your family, to go and vote.
just because they're outside, they are literally shoulder to shoulder.
And after we win,
just
we
because
need to
they're
pass
outside, they're
landmark
literally on top of one
election
another right
reform,
now.
voter
That does not
IDs,
guarantee
that's so
any more
bad.
safety just because they're in an outside venue. All right, they're not practicing social
Residency
distancing.
verification. Like,
They are still
we live in
very
the
much at
country,
risk
we live in the state.
of spreading COVID-19.
Citizenship
if
confirmation. They want to
there
say,
are
oh,
a few
he
in this
doesn't
crowd
have to
that
be
are
a
infected.
citizen. You got to see what's voting. They're not citizens. You're a citizen.
People
No,
think
I'm not
being
a citizen.
outside
You
kills
speak English.
COVID.
No English. Speak no English. Oh, you're voting. Yeah. What? Why not? This is the craziest.
There's
thing.
actually
the
research
Democrat National
evidencing
Committee
that
had their convention, and they had
the
a
cold
picture. You
weather
couldn't get in unless you had a
and
picture.
the
You had a
shorter
photo
days
ID.
could
But
actually
when it
attribute
comes
to
the most
higher
important
numbers
thing,
of
voting,
COVID cases.
They don't want to do it, and they know.
I was being ironic.
They
Oh, okay.
know exactly. We just can't let that happen. I've only been doing this for a short time. Believe me, this is something we're going to do.
He has brain worms?
Because we can't allow it to happen. And complete overhaul of our election security systems, because right now, Dominion is a joke, okay? Not a very funny joke. It's a disgrace that in 2020, no state in America even makes any real attempt to verify that those who cast ballots by mail are eligible and lawfully registered voters. The evidence of fraud is overwhelming, and again, I'm going to ask you to look up at that very, very powerful and very expensive screen. I do this for a few people. Let's go.
I'll ask again, why
certainly
won't
want
Amy
transparency.
Secretary endorse anyone
What
in the
he
Georgia
saw
Senate
is
runoff?
what we revealed to you last
I
night on this
obviously
program.
endorse
What appears to be
Ossoff and Warnock.
Atlanta, Georgia
No
ballot
question.
counters being told
What
to
do you mean?
leave the counting room, then a short time later with no observers,
Absolutely.
no media, hidden cases of possible ballots are rolled out from under a table. 4 people under a cloud of suspicion begin what looks an awful lot like ballot stuffing.
And the media did pack up and leave at 11:15, but there weren't observers there.
Yes, I officially
at that
endorse
time, and
John
there was no
Ossoff and
announcement
Raphael
made
Warnock
for
for
anyone to
Georgia's
leave.
state. I mean,
Now,
for
wait a
Georgia's
second here.
senatorial
That is
race.
disheveled
Sorry.
Fulton County elections chief
In the
Richard
Georgia
Barron.
senatorial
But he
runoff
doesn't have the
race,
facts
I
right.
officially
Video
endorse
proves
John
it.
Ossoff
At
and
10:40
Raphael Warnock.
PM, not 11:15, 10:40, the media is packing up a half hour before he thinks they leave. You can see them putting on their jackets there. And by 10:56, they are long gone. And the Trump team has sworn witness testimony, claiming an announcement was most certainly made. In fact, even CNN reported the counting was being shut down due to a water main break that even election administrators now acknowledge was a leaky toilet. So someone had to tell those people to leave. And if you look at this table, there are ballots in boxes open and ready for counting. Now watch as they get packed up. Why would you need to secure them and then ultimately take out the mysterious ballots from under the table to start counting? It just doesn't add up. Elections board member Dr. Kathleen Ruth shows her skepticism in that Zoom call this morning with the elections chief.
It is interesting that these ballots were under a table versus being in the open.
Well, I think there's a. I don't know that there. I think those ballot boxes get heavy. I don't think they want to be lifting those things up and putting them back down.
He makes no sense. The guy's scratching his head. He just looks nervous. The guy does not inspire confidence. There were already ballots out, but even almost 24 hours since I posted what could be, quote, smoking gun video of election fraud. A video now with 2.5 million views as of right now on my Twitter feed. The head of elections, whose ballot counters are now being accused of ballot stuffing, declares this.
I'll have to review. I need to review the video. I have not seen the video.
Please do. Please do is right. He hasn't watched the video that could upend the presidential election. Please do is right. He hasn't watched the video that could upend the presidential election, and the guy in charge of the very people in the room admits he didn't watch the video before updating board members this morning. That's insanity. And yet, Fulton County still certified the election. But you know who did watch our video? Our viewers, Stinchfield's Army. One directed me to this moment in the video. The woman in purple, after putting ballots in to be scanned, it appears to take the same batch of ballots out, straighten them, and then look what she does with them. She reinserts them back into the ballot counting machine again. The same set of ballots. Now, there may or may not be an explanation for this.
It looked like she was pulling out like there was like a jam.
As the greatest political heist in election history.
It kind of looked like she was pulling one out in the machine that had apparently gotten
Evidence
stuck.
of election fraud mounts.
Am I making shit up?
Media and Democrats loudly insist Joe Biden is still the 2020 winner. However, numerous whistleblowers are coming forward with credible information that hundreds of thousands
looked like
of
there
votes
was a
for
paper
President
jam.
Trump mysteriously disappeared on election night. On Tuesday, Jesse Morgan, a worker for the U.S. Postal Service, revealed that his trailer full of ballots simply went missing after he dropped them off. The worker drove his truck from Bethpage, New York, all the way to Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and says he was carrying some 288,000 completed mail-in ballots. Phil Klein, the director of the legal group Thomas More Society Amistad Project, says they have many more testimonies from whistleblowers with similar stories. The project is working to discover flaws and even expose cases of voting fraud in the 2020 election, and has already uncovered serious examples of voting irregularities. Backing up President Trump's warnings, Klein explains that the post office was rife with fraud and that many postal service workers were taking part in widespread illegal efforts to undermine the election. While the missing truck full of ballots is bad enough, other whistleblowers say they drove thousands of pre-filled ballots right over state lines, which is a federal crime. A subcontractor for the post office, Nathan Pease, said that he was told by two separate postal workers that the post office in Wisconsin had collected and backdated over 100,000 ballots on the morning after the election. Unsurprisingly, others also claimed the integrity of Dominion voting machines has been compromised and cannot be trusted. During a press conference in Arlington, Virginia on Tuesday, the project explained that election officials in blue jurisdictions have failed to maintain the ballot chain of custody, which leaves the door wide open for voting fraud. The project said it has photographic evidence of people improperly accessing voting machines and eyewitness accounts on how the seals on ballot hard drives were illegally tampered with and broken. Klein says that in total, there are over 300,000 fraudulent ballots in Arizona, 548,000 in Michigan, 204,000 in Georgia, and 121,000 in Pennsylvania. Based on this evidence, the FBI has reportedly requested to look at the project's data on voting integrity and potential election fraud. Pearson Sharp, One America News.
So, if you just take the crime of what those Democrat workers were doing, and by the way, there was no water main break. You know, they said
Didn't he win by several million votes in all of those states? No, he won by around 81,000 votes in Pennsylvania, if I recall correctly.
It's 10 times, maybe more than that, but it's 10 times more because we lost by a very close number. The alleged Biden margin of victory in several states is entirely accounted for by extraordinarily large midnight vote dumps.
I think one of the largest margins of victory that he did have was in Michigan, right? But I'm pretty sure Biden won by 20,000 votes in Wisconsin, 81,000 votes in Pennsylvania, 10,000 votes in Georgia.
For example, at 6:31 a.m. in Michigan, reported 141,238 votes for Joe Biden and 5,900 votes for Donald Trump.
Over 150,000 in Michigan. Thank you.
96% for Biden, 4% for Trump, in an area where I should be doing quite well. You know, I won almost every county in Michigan, almost every district. It was except for one. And they actually had
Wayne County,
people.
where Detroit is located?
If you look at the ballots, they had ballots
Have you ever seen an electoral map ever?
More ballots than they had people voting.
The case.
How do you do that?
Every time.
So they had people, and they're voting. And then, as you know, two of the canvassers were very brave. They didn't vote, and they got the hell knocked out of them.
Republicans win in most rural counties. Democrats win in urban counties.
And then they raised their hand,
works.
but then they couldn't sign it ultimately. But more ballots than they had voters. Now, how simple is that? A similar vote dump occurred in Wisconsin at 3:42 a.m. This is 3:42 in the morning. In fact, when I went to bed that night, everybody was calling, congratulations, you're up 600,000 votes in Pennsylvania. Across all of the key swing states, there were impossibly low rejection rates. You saw that. For mail-in ballots, drastically less than the historic norm. In Georgia, 0.5% of the mail-in ballots were rejected in 2020 compared to 5.77%. That's a difference of 11 times more. It's hundreds of thousands of votes. In Pennsylvania, 0.03% were rejected in 2020 compared to a much, much higher percentage in 2016. This issue alone is enough to change the election results in many states. Whistleblowers, and that's the smallest of the issues. Whistleblowers in multiple states have testified to witnessing postal workers and election workers illegally backdating thousands and thousands of ballots, fixing ballots, filling out false birthdays, registering ineligible voters, and much, much more. We're talking about hundreds of thousands of votes.
Pretty sure the
state.
only
in Arizona, a sample of
pretty sure the only whistleblowers in the USPS was that one in Erie, Pennsylvania, who eventually came forward and admitted that he was lying and that he was paid to sign a false affidavit of possible election fraud.
to
So
win Arizona. We should have won that state very easily. We have a similar type of governor, I think, but I'll let you know that in about a week.
we lost Billy Mays and this
In one
motherfucker is
Michigan
still
county,
alive.
and by the way, when Laura Ingraham interviewed your governor, he said he was an offensive lineman. I said, that's strange. He doesn't look like an offensive lineman to me. In one Michigan county using Dominion voting systems, nearly 6,000 votes were discovered
Trying to
that were wrongly switched
demasculate the
to Biden.
governor
They called
on
it a
national
glitch.
television.
You know, a glitch, just like
I
the
see.
machine broke. Numerous times we found glitches, and every single time the glitch went 100% to Biden and no percent to Trump. The same systems are used in 30 states. The left lies, they cheat and they steal. They are ruthless, and they are hell-bent on getting power and control by any means necessary. They investigate you and they prosecute you. The moment you question them, they try and intimidate you. They call you a poor American. You're not a good American. You don't love our country. They don't love our country. They beat you down, shut you up, and make you retreat. That's what they do. That's what they've done to your governor. They've done that to your governor. Your governor should be ashamed of himself. That's what they want to do. Right here in Georgia, they want you to be quiet. They want you to go away, but we don't go away. We don't go away. It's the biggest open secret in America that Democrats cheat in elections. This year, by sending out 65 million mail-in ballots, they perpetrated the largest fraud in the history of our country. Democrat officials and politicians in every swing state systematically weakened every measure to combat election fraud. They ensured that there were no identity checks, no signature checks. I want to check a signature, please. I'm sorry, we don't let you do that. No eligibility checks, no nothing. Every single one of you know that if these ballots are properly audited, if the signatures and envelopes were examined, if the envelopes were correlated to the votes, because you'll find there are far more ballots than there are envelopes. All you have to do is count them up. How many ballots do you have? How many envelopes do you have? And if the voter rolls are studied, in other words, studied to check the signature, Miss Smith, oh, it's a totally different signature from 2 years ago, from 6 years ago, from 10 years ago.
Oh, yeah,
What's that
because
all about?
signatures
We
are
will find that
incredibly
hundreds of
inconsistent.
thousands of ballots
Everybody
were
signs
illegally
their
cast
names
in your
differently.
state and all over the country, by
All
the
the
way.
time.
More than
Trying to
enough
find a
give us
discrepancy
total
in a signature would be the
historic
easiest way to
victory.
purge thousands, if
This
not
is our
millions of votes. All right, there's no better way
That
to
they are
try to
taught,
disenfranchise
and you know this, and you
voters
say it,
than
but they're trying
to
to take
verify
it
signatures,
from
because
us
it is almost a
through
guarantee
rigging,
that you could
fraud,
find a
deception, and
discrepancy
deceit.
in their signatures.
That's what we saw in the election.
From
That's
one
what's
ca-
going
from
on, and it's
one
happening
race to
right
the
now in our
last one.
country. and we will do something about it, and we're going to do something about it quickly, and we're going to be watching on January 5th. We're going to be watching every element of what they do, this fraud that they've perpetrated on our country. We're going to be watching it more closely than any election has ever been watched. Hopefully our legislatures and the United States Supreme Court will step forward and save our country. I used to say, without borders, we don't have a country. I can say also, without an honest voting system, without an electoral process that works and that's honest and fair, we don't have a country either. We need to check every single signature in the presidential and senatorial elections. And right now, we have to get out to vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler to show the radical left
what
that
the fuck?
we will never surrender. We will only win.
4174. Thank you for subscribing to your one. Sorry about that.
Now is not
got a little
the time
shaken
to
by seeing a
retreat.
naturally
Now is the
occurring
time
subby in
to
the wild.
fight
Thank you
harder
so much,
than
Poogie.
ever before. So don't listen to my friends. Just go out. Just go out. And you know what they're saying? They're saying, we want you to fix the system. We're going to fix the system. But the system will be fixed when these people get in. They'll get in and we'll fix the system. Because we're all victims. Everybody here, all these thousands of people here tonight, they're all victims, every one of you. The next great victory for our movement begins right here on January 5th. And then we are going to win back the White House. We're going to win it back. And we're going to take back the House in 2022. And then in 2024, and hopefully I won't have to be a candidate, we're going to win back the White House again. A friend of mine said, oh, don't worry about it, sir. You're way up in the polls. You'll win in 2024. I said, I don't want to wait till 2024. I want to go back 3 weeks. We're thrilled to be joined tonight by some real friends of all of ours, Representatives Doug Collins.
Do you know how incredibly dangerous and sinister it is to try to make it seem like
I gotta tell you,
those who are right now standing behind Donald Trump are victims simply because their affiliating party was the losing party in this election?
in Washington. I want to thank Doug Collins.
I mean,
Thank you, Doug.
this
What a
is
job he does.
an incredible misuse of power in trying to provoke individuals to truly feel like they are the victim of election fraud as well, right? And this is only going to lead to what they will think is righteous indignation toward our own democracy because their cult leader told them that they have been victims of an unjust electoral process that stole the election from Donald Trump.
Where's Dan?
He just said in 2024 he will win the White House again.
Dan.
He just admitted losing.
The first time that's ever happened to me, huh? Because you do stand out in many ways. Thank you very much, Dan. The next senator from Tennessee just got elected. Did my endorsement help? Better believe it.
I mean, no, he said up until this point too that he called to he said moments before he alluded to winning in 2024 that he was calling to revisit the signatures of these mail-in ballots because they were wrought with fraud, and so he's not necessarily giving up on the idea of letting this race go. He said that he hopes that he doesn't have to wait until 2024, but in the event that he does, he will take back the White House in 2024. He alluded to not giving up on his endless endeavor to try to rig this election or steal this election by recounting the votes and verifying signatures in the swing states where he lost.
I'm trying to talk him into joining our party. Vernon Jones. Thank you, Vernon. What a great guy. Agriculture Commissioner Gary Black. Gary, good job you're doing. Boy, What a good reputation. Thank you very much, Gary. Your public service commissioners, Tricia Pridemore, Jason Shaw, a great man, great man, who's also on the ballot next month. Bubba McDonald. I like that name. Where's Bubba? Tricia? Great job. Great job. That's great. Thanks a lot, Bubba. And I introduce you to Burt Jones. Burt's going to be a very important man, I think, over the next coming with William and Brandon and the folks. And I appreciate it. And Greg, thank you very much for being here. We appreciate it very much. Very important. Georgia Republican Party Chairman David Schaefer.
Some of them just booed.
David. Hi, David. How we doing, David? Oh, we'll fire you so fast if we don't. Now, David's done a great job, and he works very closely with RNC Chairwoman. This is how we won. We won a great state. We won a great state known as Michigan when she was there, and I said, let's bring her to Washington. Ronna McDaniel. Thank you, Ronna.
Did he just say that he would fire?
Thank you, Ronna. Over the last 4 years, we built the greatest political movement in the history of our country.
I missed that.
Already, we've achieved more than anyone thought possible, and we're just getting started. And we don't want other people to rip it apart. We must re-elect Kelly and David to keep it going for decades. Our politicians spend trillions and trillions of dollars rebuilding other foreign nations.
Okay, so I believe the person who he just called out was an election commissioner in the state of Georgia, and he also just threatened to fire them. David Schaefer. He did. He was just joking, but clearly not joking. Yeah, absolutely. Like, that is public humiliation, all right, to threaten to fire somebody. Even if you follow it up quickly with just joking, you are sending a clear message that your job might be on the line if you do not cooperate.
We are putting America first. We ended the war on American energy. And the United States is now the #1
His
producer
Twitter says
of oil
he's the chairman of
and
the
natural
Georgia
gas
GOP.
Anywhere on Earth. Okay. We achieved the most secure border in U.S. history, and we built our
He's
wall.
Made like 5 or 6 threats already. All right, well, we've only tuned into one.
Because you're a big military between the equipment we build and VA choice and VA accountability, right? You ever notice the vets? We used to always have on television, you'd have the fake news that always be, well, in that case, it wasn't fake, but for years, you'd always see vets how badly treated they were, how badly treated. I shouldn't say this because they'll find one somewhere in the country, but you don't see that. You don't see that anymore. You don't see the stories on the evening news about vets that are being treated horribly. And accountability was a big factor. We fired 9,000 horrible people that took advantage of our vets, and they're gone. And now if our vets don't get good service, they go out, they see a doctor, we pay the bill, they get better, they don't wait on line for weeks and months. We destroyed 100% of the ISIS caliphate in Iraq and Syria. We killed the leader of ISIS, al-Baghdadi, and we eliminated the world's top terrorist. Soleimani is dead. I withdrew from the last administration's disastrous Iran nuclear deal, and I think they want to start it up again. Can you believe this? I wonder if they'll give them $150 billion. No, they'll give them $250. They were ready to rock. They were ready to do whatever we wanted. Now they're salivating. I recognize the true capital of Israel and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem. And also recognize Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. Instead of endless war, we are forging peace all over the world. And you know, we have the greatest military ever. We have the greatest equipment, all made in the USA, a lot of it made in Georgia. But you know what? I'm the only one in many, many decades that hasn't started a war. Everyone thought that with my personality, I'd be in war the first week. They were all saying war. And we developed relationships. Let's see how.
Anybody have a running total of the total drone strikes that Trump?
But whatever happened to that? Remember, I came in. It was going to be war with North Korea. It was going to be war with everybody. No, we built the greatest military in the world, And the better it is, the less likely it is that we're going to
Does anybody have the running total of the drone
that we've
strikes
achieved together is on the line
that
on June 5th. In
Trump
this
ordered?
election, you can send a
Anyone?
message to the fake
Does anybody
news
know
media,
that off
and
the
there's
top
a
of
lot
their
of
dome?
them right back there. And they'll find something wrong with this evening. I don't know what it is, but they'll find something wrong. Maybe it was the person that shouted love. They'll say it was a horrible protester. They'll find something, Kelly and David. They're going to find
Trump ordered the
something. You're
Pentagon
looking
to
having a
stop
hard
reporting
time.
drone strikes
It's been a
orders
love
when
fest.
he
This
was
is a
on his
love
way
fest
to
for these two
doubling
people.
Obama's 8-year total in his first year.
But they all want the Silicon Valley censors and the corrupt Democrat
I just Googled it, and it seems that he's made it harder to tell.
You must vote for David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler. Go out and vote. With your help, we are going to continue our mission to save America. We will defend the right to life, religious liberty, free speech, and the right to keep and bear arms. They're going to take your guns away. We will always support the heroes of law enforcement. We will maintain America's unrivaled military might.
What?
And we will preserve peace through strength. We will protect Social Security and Medicare, and we will always protect patients with pre-existing conditions. Right? We will stop the radical indoctrination of our students and children and restore patriotic education to our schools.
What?
We will teach our children to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. And we will live by the words of our national motto, "In God we trust." From Atlanta to Augusta, from Savannah to Columbus, and from Athens to right here. Right here. This is a nice place.
Dude, just touting
It's a
hyper-nationalist agendas. Like it's normal because it is. It's been completely normalized to be hyper-nationalistic and proud of your patriotism here in this country.
We stand on the shoulders of American heroes who crossed the oceans, settled the continent, tamed the wilderness, laid down the railroads, raised up the great skyscrapers, won 2 world wars, defeated fascism and communism, and made America into the single greatest nation in the history of the world. And if they get in, and add me into the group if you don't mind, we will be greater than ever before, without question.
What?
The best is yet to come. Proud citizens like you help build this country, and together we are taking back our country. Our fight to drain the Washington swamp and reclaim America's destiny has just begun. We will not bend, we will not break, we will not yield.
He might be trying to coup his way through legislative action.
We will never back down. We will never, ever surrender.
I don't know what he's going to do, seeing that the Democrats have control of the House of Representatives, but what would he mean by that?
And blue.
He ain't gonna coup shit, he's gone. No, I know that he has...
We are one
There's no arrows in his quips.
One people, one
like Nancy
family,
Pelosi said.
and one
But it's the fact that he just said that. I mean, he said that.
With the incredible people of Georgia.
Like, it almost seemed like he was alluding to maybe still being interested in trying to do a coup if the Republican Party will help him.
Wealthy again. We have made America strong again. We have made America proud again. We have made America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you, Georgia. Get out and vote. Get out and vote.
The President of the United States, Donald J. Trump, has finished his remarks in Valdosta, Georgia. We'll go back to the scene in just a moment with live coverage from Liz Willis, Mike Nificent, and Grace Saldana, and also Scott Pressler. But now
The village people do not approve. Now, we know that we had an election. The Department of Homeland Security said it was the most secure election in American history. The Justice Department said there is no evidence that fraud played a helping hand in the outcome of this election. But we are hearing Donald Trump speak at these rallies, and it's very apparent that he's not so convinced that he lost fair and square, right? Most secure election in American history, then Trump fired the dude. Yes. That dude told the country that corona is spreading due to people getting tested. Of course, he thinks he is still in the running. He has put on his invisibility glasses. Well, Donald Trump tried to convince anybody who was gullible enough to fall for this that we had a high number of cases because we were testing more than any other nation, because he was trying to find a way to do damage control, because it looked pretty bad that under his management there is a very high number of cases and subsequent deaths. So yes, Donald Trump would never come out and say, I might have made a mistake in the way that I have managed COVID-19. I did not take this disease serious enough in the beginning. I failed to impose the proper mandates in the beginning, even before coronavirus was classified as a pandemic. And that would be an admission of guilt if he would admit to his wrongdoing. So instead, he had to find a way to justify why there was such a high case rate and death counts in this country. That's just Trump in his inability to hold himself accountable for his actions. Now, with regard to the outcome of the general election, Donald Trump also cannot admit defeats because he has always been able to either talk or pay his way out of what would be considered a defeat. So yes, Trump right now is probably grappling with a new feeling of loss that he was not prepared for. And so instead of graciously bowing out, he has launched this entire misinformation campaign about the legitimacy of our own democratic processes. Because again, he does not know how to cope with failure. In his mind, this is an absolute failure. And he would rather put on this charade or place blame or scapegoat our own election system and call on the validity of our own electoral processes that in real time is casting doubts on our own democracy. How many people right now question the integrity of our own election? How will this impact us in the long run? And Donald Trump does not care about the long-term consequences. He does not care about the short-term ramifications. He is so desperate to try to maintain his position of power that he will go so far to say that this election was rigged, despite having zero material evidence to back up these claims, having lost every single court case but one, and continuing on with this charade and these falsified claims because it's easier for him to keep this falsified claim going than to accept defeat. And he will do it until it is absolutely, we have reached the point where there is absolutely no options for recourse. There are no more avenues to exhaust. I don't know what that will look like in his response to having to accept failure and loss and concede to this election. But he has evidence that he is not going to give up without a fight. He is still pushing to try to find a pathway forward to steal this election. And it seems like he is really trying to elevate the need to revisit some of these absentee ballots with voter signature verifications, right? And to look at any discrepancies that one might find when comparing the signature of this upcoming or this previous election to the last time that a voter had participated in an election, to ensure that these signatures match. Spoiler alerts, it is very easy to find a discrepancy in one's signature. That's the reason why he wants to do a recount in these swing states that will consider signature verifications that would ultimately allow him to purge as many absentee ballots necessary so that it looked like he actually won. He does not care that this would be ostensibly disenfranchising millions of people. He will do whatever it takes to win. Now we know that. And it seems like, by and large, most election officials are holding their ground. They are moving forward with the verification process of the election results. And not a lot of members of the GOP are necessarily budgeting right now, which is good, which is why he is making threats. He's making threats to fire individuals who played a helping hand to just do their job. In Trump's mind, a helping hand to help Joe Biden secure this win, when in all reality, they were just doing their jobs, taking the results of the election at face value, which they should, because, as mentioned, the DOH secretary said that this is the most secure election we've ever had. And, even Bill Barr said, we have found no evidence suggesting that fraud was part of this election. So, again, Donald Trump will continue to exhaust any avenue possible to rig this election, even though we know that it is essentially a dead end. It does not mean that he will not try until the very last second, because it's easier for him to contest this election in any way possible than to accept defeat. And thus the prosecution paradox: one cannot concede power without facing consequences, so must stay in power indefinitely.